You guys look great. Hey, thanks for having me. NZDS was started originally by a whole bunch of doctors who were already steeped in integrative medicine and have had training in environmental medicine and nutrition, etc. So, it's an easy fit for us to take part in this action. But it cuts across all the domains that we've been struggling with, in another certain imposed medication issue that I won't bore you with right now. For instance, I gave a submission back in, would have been 2017. So having lectured on this stuff anyway, I burned up, and I can clearly remember some of the insights that I had back then. And the issue is not about there isn't enough evidence. Of course there's enough scientific evidence, and there has been for 20 or longer years, which is why New Zealand is in a tiny minority of hermit kingdoms that's still using fluoride, but also compulsorily fluoridating. The rest of the world has kind of got it. But there's a rearguard action going on, and plainly this is about money, because it's not about science, because there is no scientific argument that can be brought in support of fluoridation. None. So it's about money. It's about New Zealand being a primary producer and relying so heavily on agribusiness to earn our export dollars, and the power and control that well-heeled lobbyists have over politics and legislation. So we're here to stand up for the legislation that we do have, and as well to endorse the overwhelming proof that fluoridation is harmful. And I just want to touch a little bit on the IQ thing, because although the IQ test measures one very specific aspect of brain function and neural development, the way that fluoride interferes with neurogenesis, the production of nerve cells, and their syncing with each other, and synapses and neural networks, actually cuts across or involves every aspect of brain function. So it's not just about the intellectual capital of a society being reduced. And if you think about the normal distribution curve, 5 points might not sound a lot, but your average is 100, and if everybody's moved 5 points to the left, that has a huge influence on the social capital of a society as well. So it's not just about IQ, it's about impulse control, decision making, mood, the ability to make happy chemicals, and so an entire potential for somebody's life is hardwired to be limited at the moment of conception inside a fluoridated mum to be. We know that moment of conception, a wide range of things that are about the mum's metabolism, will switch on or switch off genes that may well have lifetime implications for the health of that person. We already know that one's liability to cardiovascular disease and diabetes and weight control, is in large part a function of what was going on in the mum when she conceived. So, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, those resonances will still be playing out in the life of the person. And the same is absolutely true of all neurotoxins. Now, we've heard about the EPA and the various sort of contradictory things it's thrown up, but it has its own medical journal called the Journal of Perspectives on Environmental and Public Health, something like that. But it's a high-impact journal, and there's been heaps of stuff in there over the years looking at autism. And by the way, I just want to say at this point, I don't have an APC, so I'm not speaking as a doctor, but I have high qualifications in environmental medicine and nutrition that the Medical Council ruled some years ago were not relevant to my scope of practice in general practice, so I couldn't register my fellowship in this area that I'd achieved. So they can't have it both ways. So I feel entirely entitled, as an informed private citizen with higher training in subjects that the Medical Council says aren't relevant to primary care. But when it comes to autism, they produced a list of the top 10 most strongly evidence-based environmental contaminants that are related to the autism pandemic, we can use that word, actually. And it's exponentially increasing. You know, and in my career, I've seen it increase thousands of times in incidents. And there at the top was fluoride. All right, so the strength of evidence for the impact of fluoride on the developing baby's nervous system and the likelihood to produce a regressive brain damage process, you know, in a previously healthy baby, was stronger for fluoride than it was for mercury, ethyl mercury, and for bisphenol A. So, you know, we shouldn't be wasting time trying to argue with people around the science. It is illegal, as Alison has explained. It's immoral. It's about the power of big money to do what it wants and to think that it can use the governments and the courts to get its own way. So we're standing up not just for straightforward science, but we're standing up for our human rights, of course, and we're standing up for our representation at the most important level, which is locally. If they want to say they do what government tells them, or what big business tells them, well, we're here to say, no, you don't. You do what the people on the ground, whom you live amongst, and who you campaigned to represent, tell you are our interests. And frankly, we're telling you how to behave and what to do. And that's why we're all here today. And I just want to thank you all. And I can't wait to see how this, to see the win that we're going to get, because all things being equal, there's no possibility that we can lose. All things being equal. Anyway, thank you for your time.